Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're decoding a really fascinating and frankly incredibly common paradox. We're going to explore exactly why some of the most highly driven, intelligent minds out there actually associate peace and quiet with impending danger. Let's get right into it.
Picture this. You've got a completely free afternoon, absolutely nothing on your schedule, zero obligations. And yet, instead of feeling relaxed, you feel this strange, nagging sense of dread. You know the feeling, right? It's like you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Or like taking a quick nap is somehow a high-stakes tactical error. It's wild. When you finally have the time to just chill, it somehow feels like being still is actually dangerous.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because when we look at the research, there's a fascinating explanation here. If you find it literally impossible to simply do nothing, it's not because you just have this overabundance of energy. Nope. It's actually because your nervous system has been actively trained over a long period of time to view calmness as a direct threat.
Psychologists actually have a name for this whole shebang: uneasy rest. And I want to be super clear here. This is not a character flaw. It's a highly sophisticated survival adaptation. You aren't just restless, and you certainly aren't broken. What's really happening is that you're carrying a mind that at some point was forced to grow up way too fast. It literally rewired itself to associate peace with danger just to keep you safe.
Section 1. Calm before the storm.
Look at the stark contrast here. For a typical quote-unquote safe brain, rest is just recovery mode. It's when you power down. But for the adapted brain, rest is completely different. It's perceived as a period of extreme vulnerability. For a lot of people who grew up in high-stress environments, the brain is literally incapable of resting because it genuinely believes that downtime exposes it to potential harm.
Think about it. If you grew up in a home where things were calm only for a brief moment before something inevitably blew up, your nervous system learned a very powerful protective lesson. It learned that silence is just the calm before the storm. Consequently, as an adult, your brain stays highly alert even when you're sitting on your couch, perfectly safe. It's essentially sitting there with the engine running, just waiting for the next crisis it needs to solve.
Section 2. The trap of being useful.
Now, what's absolutely crucial about this next part is a concept called parentification. Basically, this happens when a child is expected to step up and manage the emotions or the practical, day-to-day responsibilities of the adults around them. If you experience this growing up, those early burdens essentially forced you to find your entire value in being the strong one.
And the psychological result of all that early pressure, it creates a subconscious equation in your mind. Being needed equals being safe. You learned incredibly early on that you were valued primarily when you were being useful. Because of this, as an adult, doing absolutely nothing feels like a literal failure of your character. Your adapted brain firmly believes that being constantly needed, constantly useful, is the only guaranteed way to stay safe and accepted by the people in your life.
Section 3. Trapped in survival mode.
So a huge piece of this puzzle is what we call survival independence. This is when you develop early self-reliance because you learn the hard way that support from others was either strictly temporary or it came with a massive emotional cost. This creates a constant, exhausting fear. You genuinely feel that if you drop your guard for even a single second, no one else is going to step in to hold your life together.
Because of that, every single day, your brain is running constant mental simulations. You're examining every angle, every tiny detail, constantly trying to avoid being caught off guard. It's like having 50 tabs open in your brain at all times. Actually, scratch that. It's probably more like 100 tabs. Now, while this level of cognitive complexity leads to great decision-making and for sure makes you highly successful, it also means your brain is trapped in a perpetual analytical processing mode. It makes it nearly impossible to just exist in the present moment without intensely analyzing it.
And this alert state isn't just internal either. Psychology shows us that physical and mental clutter actually spikes your cortisol and overloads your working memory. If your environment feels chaotic, like say a messy room or a giant list of unfinished tasks, your brain refuses to shift into reasoning mode. Instead, it prioritizes quick, survival-style reactions over deep rest. Until that quote-unquote threat of the unfinished task is handled, your brain literally refuses to grant you the cognitive bandwidth to just relax.
Section 4. The guilt of needing help. So what happens when you actually do try to lean on someone else? Well, for someone with an adapted brain, the very act of resting or needing care triggers a deep-seated belief that you are suddenly becoming a burden. Because of all that early responsibility you shouldered, your brain was hardwired to view receiving care as something entirely foreign and, honestly, super uncomfortable. This is exactly why you might find yourself constantly apologizing for simply wanting support or just having basic human needs.
Section 5. Teaching your brain to rest.
I want you to hear this. You learned responsibility before safety, and strength before softness. Just let that sink in for a second. Psychology doesn't call you broken for feeling this way. Not at all. Your psychological responses were brilliant, incredibly effective adaptations to early pressure. They kept you safe when you needed them most. They are absolutely not flaws. They're badges of survival.
But moving forward, healing isn't being lazy. It's proving to your nervous system that the storm has actually passed. Your goal here isn't to magically wake up tomorrow and become this naturally chill person who never stresses out. No way. Your goal is to actively, patiently teach your nervous system that it is finally allowed to rest safely. You are proving to your brain day by day that the storm it's been waiting for is already over.
So, what does this all mean for you? I'll leave you with this question. Are you ready to let your mind stop waiting for a storm that's already over? Think about what your life looks like when you finally lay down that armor. If you want to keep understanding the hidden patterns behind your mind and building a stronger, calmer version of yourself, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. In this explainer, we don't just observe behavior, we decode the minds that most people never notice. See you next time.